that would make it work. Okay, so do you get it how this nested loop is working, how it is dependent on this outer loop? The variable row, inner row, is dependent on the outer loop. uh, Anyone has any doubt in this? Okay, so let's make some changes here. What if I changes to 1 2 3 4 5 6 in this way? So now you have to print this. Okay, so what changes would you like to make in this code to print this pattern? Anyone? You just have to make some changes here. Hello, am I audible?
So we don't need to initiate I.
You don't need to initiate it.
No, 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 no.
Earlier, what we were doing is one, then one, two, then one, two, three. It was like that. Now instead of this, you have to print this. So let's. What would be the correct way? You can see that it is initialized with one, and it is incremented every time it is printed. The number. So let's take a global number here in int main, that would start with one. Int number equals to one. Okay. And now while printing, what you can do, you just print that number instead of I. And every time you print that number, just increment that number. Okay. So that is the only change you need to make. You don't have to print I always. Okay. You have taken a variable number, you are incrementing it every time you are printing the number, and this pattern would be printed like this. Now it was number. If it would have been like some pattern like this, a star, then also you don't have to do anything. Just you have to print a star here, nothing else. Okay, remove that number, comment it. It would work. So this is one basic question of nested for loop. Okay, so let's move to next question. If it is clear to everybody, anyone has any doubt? Okay, fine. So now let's try to print this. It is inverted pattern, the same we saw in the last example. So everyone please write code for this inverted pattern. You have the code for simple one. You can take reference from it, and if possible make some changes and correct it. Instead of writing whole code, you can do anything. Just try to write code to print this pattern.
Sudden.
So done.
Okay, so how many of you have done? Six. Okay. So for rest of people who are yet doing, see, you didn't have to make much changes. Let's hear from those who have done. Maybe one of you can unmute yourself and tell what you have done. Those who have raised their hand. Nishant Agrawal. Okay. Who is this? Aditya Singh. Okay, Aditya. Yeah. Okay. So you have taken one outer loop, and in inner loop you have started from j equals to n minus I. Right. Fine.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Stop sharing your screen. I will tell something. That is correct. Uh, we have this code. You can see. Wait. I will share my screen. Okay. So we already had this code to print that simple pattern. Okay. So now what changes has been made? This thing has to be printed first, this second, this third, and this fourth in this way. So if you have to make some change in this code only, what change would you like to make? Like instead of starting the row with one, we should start the row with n, and the row should be greater than equals to one, and decrement the row operator. Okay. So that is the only change you needed to make in this code in the for loop only. And this inverted pattern will be printed just like that. Instead of starting with one, you have initiated row with n, and the inner loop, you see, it is a simple. It has to print simply in one line. Okay, So it's not much of a code. It's only outer loop that you have to change. And this only little change will make your program work for this pattern. Okay. So is it clear to everybody? Yeah, Adhiraj, you have something to ask? I think yes. Raised his hand for thing he hasn't. Okay, fine. So let's move to some another pattern. Uh, now that we have seen some simple patterns. Okay, let's see if we have to print this. It is a pyramid-like structure. Okay, so the input would be again number of rows, that how many rows you have. If it is 6, it will go on simply like that. And you have to print this pyramid. Okay, so we have seen simpler pattern like this. Now this pyramid thing has come. So let's hear it from you people. How do you approach it? If anyone has any idea, take.
Sir, may I speak?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, so first we can see that first we can count the number of spaces in each row that are to be printed. First, we need to take count of that. We can just find relationship just just I don't know. It's very simple, I think, to find a relationship between the current row that is being printed and the number of spaces that have to be printed at the start.
Okay.
Okay, so we find out that, and second thing is the to print the stars. Then the number of stars that to be printed are equal to the row number. And after we print those, then we change the line
Okay. Fine.
and just repeat the whole process again.
Anyone else wants to share something? Okay. I think uh, I was not going to ask this question. Wait, it was like this. Let's change it a bit. Okay. Now this is the complete pyramid. Okay. It is a bit better than the previous one. Now think about this question, and then maybe some of you can share some insight, and then we will do it together. Yeah, Nishant.
So again, it's the same thing if we say. So the if you observe that कि center में बस एक straight line पे सब लोग align हो रहे हैं, and that if we take the input as n, then the maximum. Okay, so like the first thing to notice करने वाली है कि every line contains odd number of stars, right? So which is equal to 2 times row number minus 1, and the rows are starting from 1. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and बीच में जो सेंटर ऑफ जो सिमेट्री है, जो लाइन है, that is at the nth position, where the n is the input we are taking, which is the number of rows.
उससे क्या सिग्निफिकेंस हो रहा है बीच
से
वाली
फिर
line?
हम सिग्निफिकेंस है कि we can calculate the number of spaces, because we know that the number of stars that are to be printed in each row up till this position, which is n, and then the remaining space at the start is just blank spaces, white spaces. So उससे आ जाएगा.
Okay, so let's see. If there's anyone else who wants to share some insight, or I shall proceed. Okay, fine. Yeah. So you can see every time if you have encountered with some pattern question, try to notice some relationship between the rows. Like first of all, the you can see that there's alignment of the star. If you see if it is first column, then you can see that in each column the stars are aligned like this. So the second thing that you have to notice is you have to print spaces as well. Okay, you have to take count of how many space are you going to print. The space that you have to take care of is before you encounter the first star. Okay, once you have encountered the first star, it is simply that you will print a star space. Okay, that is not a worry. It's just that in the starting position how many spaces you have to print, that is what you need to take care of. Okay, so I want to ask one thing, that here the total spaces that we have to print in this 11th line that you can see, I have to consider spaces only till this star, not after this star has been printed. Anyone who can relate with me? Like you have to print only till this first star. You don't have to consider that we have to print spaces here after all well, because if you don't print that, like it's not, how can you see that as spaces? Okay, it's only visible in the starting position because there is something that is blocking that. Okay, a space. So this space you have to count only, not the space after this star. You have to take care of only these spaces. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So if I start with the first row, you can see that in first row you have to print only one, in second row you have to print three, in third row you have to print five. So what is the relation that you can see? If r is the row number, then how many stars is going to be printed in that row? 2 into r minus 1. If it is 1, then there is 1. If it is 2, then it is 3. If it is 3, then it is 5. So that is the relationship that you can establish. Okay, for number of stars. Now the second thing that you have to take care of is spaces. So in first row, you can see that if there are n row, then in first row there are n minus 1 spaces. Here there were 4 rows, so there is 1 2 3. So basically one is here the star is printed and then there is a space. So basically if we consider that, so there are two spaces that you need to take till here. Like let's see from the bottom up, you have to print the first star. Now you have to calculate how many spaces you have to print. So there is one star that would go for a space, then there is one space obviously, then one star, then a space, then one star, then a space. So basically the number of stars and one space extra. So it is like if you are in first row, like if row number is r, the number of space you have to print is 2 into n minus r. This is for number of spaces. Okay, and this is for number of stars. So this was the only thing you need to consider. You can see how we established this relationship. If it is the first row, then n is the total number of rows. So 4 minus 1, it is 3, and 2 into 3 is 6. How it is 6, you can see clearly here from the download. You can see you have to print till this one is spaces. So 1 star 1 space, 1 star 1 space, 1 star 1 space. That is total 6 space. So similarly, if you consider this here, so you can see that in second row there is 2 star and 2 space. So that is why 2 into n minus r. After looking at the pattern, he established that number of spaces you need to print at the start of the star is 2 into n minus r, and the number of star is 2 into r minus 1. Okay. So anyone has any doubt in like how we have got this equation of number of stars and number of spaces? Okay. So let's code it out. Now it's simple. You have all the thing. Now you just have to code. So let's print. I have taken one outer loop for number of row which is being printed, and then uh, you can see okay. So first you have to print row. So whenever we start the inner loop, I have written code for the printing these spaces. Now I have to write code for printing the stars. Okay. You can see that here I have initialized I int I equals to 1. So the scope of this int I, this variable I, is still this closing of the for loop only. Since I have initialized this int I is I in this for loop only. So if I declare one more for loop in the overall outer loop, then I can use I again. Okay. it, I is a local variable here for loop. Okay, so don't be confused about that. If I use I again, you can take any variable for simplicity, but just to remind you that it will get terminated after this for loop is over. Yeah. You have to print one star, and you can see that after every star there is a space, right? Okay. And now after printing one line, you have to change line also. So for that, there is this backslash n for changing line. So I think this code should work. Down 0. Okay. So everyone can see this code. Before writing, if you have started with any question, before writing its code, just try to do it in your copy. Take your pen
Excuse
and
me, sir.
yeah.
Sir, in line 25, I think there should be double white spaces instead of single white space in the
Mm,
printf.
no, there should be single white spaces only. No, why double? I have
Huh.
taken two into n minus row here. If I have taken, if I have excluded this
Okay,
two,
okay, sir. Okay, got you.
yeah, you can do that also. Like here we have taken 2 into n minus row. So what if you want to remove this 2? Let's say then instead of one space, you would have printed two space. That is the only change you need to make. Okay. For simplicity, I have done this. Okay, fine. So see, whenever you get a question of something like this pattern, so try to find this equation, like how stars are being printed, how number of spaces are there, and then writing code is easy. But don't just go on your uh, coding pad and start coding it directly without thinking of any logic. Okay, so I think this star pattern is clear. Okay, so you can see this pattern question, everybody. Okay, so let's try to do this. I think this is a good question. Noted. Yeah, the question is visible on your screen. So I am giving you people some time to think how would you approach this question. And if something clicks, then you can write your code and let's see how you are approaching. Then we will do it.
Sir, done.
Okay. So few people have think it, done it. Five. That is good. Uh, let's see what other people are doing. Hmm. Varun Mangla. Varun Mangla, can you hear me? Okay. Pranav Bansal.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So Pranav, how are you approaching this question? Let's talk about it. Just tell me whatever you have think or you are thinking right now about how would you approach this question. No, no, I'm not asking code. Uh, just share logic with me. This is a programming assignment to you, so don't share your code. Okay. Uh, let's
सर
discuss
भाई
logic
पैटर्न
only.
पैटर्न देख लिया सर बस इसमें तो
वही क्या है
ये
पैटर्न?
ये एक सेकंड सर असाइनमेंट खोल रहा हूँ
मैं शेयर करता हूँ.
हाँ सर, इसमें स्पेसेस देख लिया ना कि फर्स्ट रो में 0 स्पेस है, सेकंड में 1 स्पेस है, थर्ड में 2 है, तो वो एक तो r-1 स्पेस हो जाएगा उसमें। और फिर उसमें फॉर लूप चला दिया मैंने, एक स्पेस का फॉर लूप होगा, एक आपका हैश का फॉर लूप होगा, और ये 1 2 3 4 मतलब ऐसे 4 पार्ट में डिवाइड हो गया ना पूरा पैटर्न। तो
सो
हर
पहले
फोर।
फर्स्ट यू आर प्रिंटिंग अपर हाफ, पहले अपर हाफ प्रिंट करोगे ना?
हाँ
ओके। सो किन चीजों का कंसिडर करना जरूरी है पहले? स्टार्टिंग स्पेस।
हाँ, पहले तो स्टार्टिंग स्पेस हो गया, और दूसरा दोनों हैश के बीच का स्पेस वो भी काउंट कर लिया कि जैसे
ओके।
कि पहले ऊपर दो वालों में इतना आपका है 8 स्पेसेस हैं शायद दोनों हैश के बीच में, ऐसा है। फिर दूसरे में आपकी कितनी है, नहीं, एक सेकंड से, दूसरे वाले में है 4 और 4, दो और दो, दूसरे में 8 है, नहीं पहले में 12 है शायद से।
8 तो यहीं पर हो गया।
हाँ 8 हो गया, पहले में 12 है, दूसरे में 8 है, फिर तीसरे में 4 स्पेस है, फिर लास्ट वाले में 0 है, तो वो पैटर्न दिख गया स्पेसेस का इनके बीच में। फिर बस हो गया, सब इसका कोड लिख दिया।
ओके फाइन। दोज ऑफ यू हु हैव डन, किसने हैंड रेज किया था? मे बी वन ऑफ यू कैन शेयर योर कोड, आई वांट टू सी।
So is it visible?
It is visible.
So first, uh, I have shown it for the top half of the pattern. Uh, okay, and the first we have to print the spaces at the start,
Fine.
then printing the first half of the hashes, then printing the spaces in the middle of the line, then printing the remaining hashes, and then changing the line, because this whole process is done for one row.
Okay.
Then we have to change the line for all the rows. Okay, then this is for the bottom half of the pattern. So we just reverse what we had done in the top. This is how this works. So
Okay.
I can show, should I show it?
Maybe you can show for some example for.
Oops. Hmm.
Check line number.
29.
Semicolon is missing.
नहीं सर सेमीकोलन तो ये रहा. एक सेकंड फिर से बिट करके देखता हूँ. ओके 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 एक सेकंड. और इधर क्या दिक्कत हो गई? The remaining ashes in the line.
Check the line number first.
हाँ सर लाइन नंबर में ही एक expected expression before this. Exactly. Okay. 29. 29. क्या दिक्कत है? Expected expression before.
वो जो करली ब्रैकेट ऊपर लगाया ना उसको उठा के नीचे रख दे एक बार.
अच्छा ठीक है, एक से अब अभी भी एरर दिखा रहा है,
नहीं अब सही है, वो रेड लाइन हट गई उसके नीचे से। एक बार
बट
दोबारा।
फिर इधर आ गए रेड लाइन। चलो, क्यों आया एरर? अब तो ठीक हो गया।
Compiler right?
आता रहता है ये, ऐसे ही है।
Good.
और किसी के लिए भी देख सकते हैं बस। बस
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Can we use functions in this assignment?
What?
Can we use functions in this assignment?
Which functions in particular?
The user, the functions which user defines.
Sorry, I'm not getting like already inbuilt function you are asking.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Like in the last lab we did, na? Or
Yeah. Oh, custom function. Yeah, you can
yes.
write your code in that custom function, like function pattern, void pattern, and write your code in that pattern. And every time you have to print something, just call that function. You can do that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay. So I think this pattern thing is clear to you people, or you want to do some more questions on pattern. Okay, let's see. Wait. Maybe let me check if there's some good question. Okay, so I have got one good question. Okay, so this is Pascal's triangle pattern. Okay, so you don't have to like think for spaces in this question. Okay, you just have to try some pattern, find some logic while printing this. So uh, let's try this question. Okay, everybody, then we will do it together.
Sir, done.
Okay. So one person has done. Fine. Let's see how should we approach this question. Okay. Uh, so you can see in this question that if you have to print one row, like let's say if you have to print third row, then you can see its dependencies on the previous row. Like the first number is always one, that is fine. We are that is what we have observed. Okay, and the last number is also always one from second row onward. Okay, so you just have to take care of these cases for middle numbers in the middle, right? So there's a pattern that you can see that if how did this number come? If I add the two number in the previous row, like for this two, if I add this one and one, then it has come. Okay, if we take this, let's say if we are to print this fourth row, first number is one, last number is one, that is fine. Okay, and you can see in each row, there if the number of row is four, then the number of then the total numbers that are being printed in that row is four. It is equals to that number of row. So now you have to find this three. So for this three, what we'll do, we'll just go to previous row and add the number corresponding to that three, which is basically two here, in just in parallel with three and one number before it. So if you add one and two, it is three. If you add two and four, it is three. Okay, and then you just put one here. Here it is one, then you add 1 and 3, then 4, then 3 and then you add 3 and 3, then it is 6, then you add 3 and 4 1, it is 4, and you simply put 1 as the last element. Similarly, you can see for this case also 1 plus 4 5, 4 plus 6 10, 6 plus 4 10, 4 plus 1 5, and this one come here. So this is one simplest pattern that you can observe in this question. Okay, so if you want to write code for this, so you have to store the number. Okay, not just print, you have to store the number in the previous row. to print those numbers in the current row. But since we have not used array till now, basically array would be used to do that, and the code will be very simple, like 3 or 4 lines only. Okay. But since we are not going to use array here, we will have to do it in some other way without using array. So we will have to find some other pattern, right? One simplest pattern that was visible that I just told you. Okay, so when you will learn array, then we will do this code again, or maybe you will do it on your own using that array, and you can see that the code become very simple indeed. So now that we have to do it in other way, let's see how it's done. So one guy who has written Nissan. So how have you approached this question?
Sir, I just made a simple combination function and I called it every time.
Combination. So what pattern did you see? How combination function work there?
Just a simple like NCR टाइप ही किया है उसमें बस और तो कुछ किया नहीं मैंने. नॉर्मली हम लिखते हैं.
Exactly. So that is what I told. So see, there is one more way, that factorial way. So as he told, can you see that pattern here?
Yes, sir.
It is, if we go to this third row, it's 2C0, 2C1 and 2C2. 3C0, 3C1, 3C2, 3C3. It is 4C0, 4C1, 4C2, 4C3. You can see that, right? Let's write for, if someone says 4C0, 4C1, 4. So you can see the pattern here. Okay. So you know the formula of this combinatorics, right? N factorial by NCR. So it is N factorial by R factorial into N minus R factorial, right? So what will you do? You will just make a simple factorial function here. Long fact. Take that number. Okay. You have done factorial code in the some previous assignment, right? So you can just use your previous code for factorial. Okay. And what changes would you make here? Like if you start with for int row equals 0, row is less than n, row plus plus. Okay. So tell me, how would you do this? Now that it is clear to you, would you be able to write it code? Like, can you see this pattern? This combinatoric function that Nishan told for each row that I have written. You can see for it is simply, it was for 4 here, then it is for 5 here, then it will be 6 here. So just you have to call that function like the what the function would you call, like the fact of n, the fact of basically r row. Okay, by, and there would be one inner loop also for number of you have the number of elements that you are going to print. Okay, so for that you have to take this like if the number of row is 0, so for you can take like for int I equals 0, I is less than uh, row plus 1, maybe row plus 1, yeah, right, and I plus plus. Okay. It is row 2, which is 0, 2. Call this. It's just pseudocode. Okay. So this is the function that you will call basically, like for NCR, and you have declared this function here, and the value that you would get, just print that number alongside and a space alongside it. And this is the nested loop that would work like for row. It would start from 0 and basically till n. So there are n row, and in each row you would be printing, like if it is 0th row, so there would be one element. I have taken 0 basically, so you can take 1 also here. You can start row from 1, that is no problem. Okay, so to cover that, I have taken here for int I less than row plus 1. Okay, just to consider that case. So this is the basically nested loop that would work here, and all you have to do is to call this function and use this ncr code and print that. So that's how you would print Pascal triangles. But I think the better way to, let's see if anyone has any doubt in how do you write the code for
सर
this.
इसमें टर्म्स का रेशियो देख के करेंगे तो ज़्यादा बेटर वे रहेगा।
Huh?
टर्म्स का रेशियो जैसे NCR+1/NCR वाला फॉर्मूला यूज करके।
You can do that. Okay, there's no problem.
इसे फंक्शन में बार-बार फैक्टोरियल कैलकुलेट करना पड़ रहा है, उसमें नहीं करना पड़ेगा।
अच्छा. So
मैं अपना
you
शेयर
you're
करता हूँ।
you're okay. Okay, okay. I understood your logic. Yeah, see, so he has written a most computationally effective code. Rather than writing for that NCR, he has just calculated NCR plus 1 by NCR and found this pattern n minus r by r plus 1 to print those numbers every time it is being called. And he has taken t as an integer variable and just printing it every time and updating it with this question. Good. So you came up with this by your own, or have you done this before?
I came up with this formula first, उसके बाद easy हो गया।
Yeah, very good. Okay. So see, we can do it without using factorial also. Okay. It was good. So like there are many ways to do this question. 3 ways we have seen just right now. Okay. One factorial, one this, and one way which we haven't seen is using array. Basically, it would be like it would be a concept of dynamic programming. So that would come later. Okay. So I don't want to introduce that right now. So I think it is good. So anyone who has any doubt in this Pascal triangle? No one. Okay, fine. So let's see. So I think now pattern question are more clear. Okay, you just have to develop some logic. Okay, so you would be able to do these questions. Now let's see if there's some good question. Prime square, first in a square, prime number in a square, given that it's perfectly fine block, which is not a square. In a square. So let's discuss approach of some questions. Like for question 4, like you have to print first n square prime numbers. Okay, so you will make a function for prime, for finding prime number, for next prime number, and every time you call that function like this, maybe a function like into next prime. Okay, and just pass some variable here, so initial count basically, and every time you would call that function.
So your screen is not shared.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so now you can see this prime square function, basically the fourth question you have. You have to first print n square prime number in a square. So I think the pattern part is clear. You just have to take for loop. Okay, if you have done question like this, okay, so I don't think there would be any problem for you to take nested loops. Okay, it has become simpler till now. All you have to do here is just write a code for prime number. Okay, and finding all those prime number and printing in this pattern. So there is not much to do in this prime square question. It is very simple since you all have done prime number question earlier, so that's why. Okay, let's see if there's some good question. Given two positive integer a and b, find number of pairs such that I divide j. So here also, like, you have given a and b, you have to find number of pairs ij such that I divide j, I divides j. So maybe just tell me, anyone, those of you who are not spoken much, I would like to listen from those people. How do you like to approach this question? Ayank, Raj?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just tell me that how do you approach this question? It is a simple question, but I want to know your approach. Yeah, Ayank, can you think of something in this question?
Sir, we can execute a for loop such that,
Like, what would be in the outer loop? That
sir, I can define a counter variable that increments whenever I divides j, such
okay.
that if I input from 1 to 10, then
Mhm.
for loop scales the whole variable from 1 to 10,
Mhm.
incrementing it. And whenever I divide j, the counter variable increments and then prints the value
So
after exiting.
you would check it for every number till 10. Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So they are nested for loop. You can see. You can mute yourself. There are some noise. Okay, fine. So everyone can see this is a simple question also. Let's see if there's some good question here. Sum of the square root of number of less than equal to this. Given two positive integers, one number of terms. This is also you have to take two for loop. Only what you need to consider is to find GCD. So uh, you know how to write code for GCD.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Then it is also a simple question. You just have to take two for loops. Okay. Now this 7 for any positive integer defined number divided by sum of x. So first you have to find this sum of digit that you do using modulo, and every time you calculate one digit and add it in the counter. And once you find the sum of digit, then you will take a for loop for till that number and check if it is divisible by x, and you just take sum of those number basically. Okay, so I think it is also fine. It's not much of a big deal. Maybe you guys can tell if you want me to discuss like any particular question in this or anything. I think the nested loops, the tough part or complex part we have covered in pattern itself. Those were the ones that were complex one. The question that are in the last like 7 or 8 or 6, these are the simple questions. Okay. So first try to do those pattern questions because that would give you confidence and this will be very simple for you while doing that. So anything you want me to discuss apart from this? Okay. Okay. So how was your lab exam that has happened a few days ago? How have you performed in that? How are the questions? Everybody has given that
सर
exam.
यस सर सही था हैकर पे था ना नॉर्मल एग्जाम ही था
So questions easy थे या difficult थे, कैसे थे?
Easy थे यार.
यस सर इफ एल्स ही थे मेनली
तो सबको इजी लगे या कुछ लोग जो बोलते हैं उनको नहीं लगे?
इजी थे, मतलब फर्स्ट तो लैब एग्जाम इजी था.
Fine. So you can see that they are increasing level of the question in every lab assignment. Like now the nested loop and pattern. So the level will increase further also. So I would suggest that now that you have got some gist of it, uh, you can log into HackerRank. I'll share my screen. Everyone, make your account on this HackerRank. If you have if you have started with normal questions, although you don't know array till now, but I guess you can mute yourself as around. Yeah. Okay, so I would like everyone to make your account on HackerRank. It is not like from institute, but institute has not told you to make this account and do all things. But I would like you people to start some coding. Okay, just make this account and go to this problem solving. Basically, you can see there are different tags here. Also, just select those. Just select those easy questions. Okay, simple easy question, and those questions which which do not include any type of array or something, anything that you have not studied till now. Okay, leave that, but whatever you think that you can do it, start coding. Okay, on this, just so that you can get a gist of competitive programming. So it would be easier if you start right now only, because now it's been 1 month since you have started studying C, and there's one lab exam also. So I think that you are well prepared for that, and it will help you create your logic apart from that learning the language. Okay, so if you find some time, if you are able to find some time, I think you should do this, because when I was taking the lab of Call 100 last year. So in that lab, there used to be some programming competition, competitive programming competition in each lab after 1 month. So, but in this lab, this is not happening because that was offline, and in online we would require more logistic to do that. So it's not that you should be left behind. Okay, so try to get started with easy questions. Okay, and that don't include array, and try to do as many questions as possible. Okay, that would give you confidence. And then the lab assignment that has been given to you would seem very easier to you, and you will start with your competitive programming apart from learning the C language. Okay, so I would advise you to everyone to do this on HackerRank is user friendly more, because it has many easy question and medium questions, so you can select your questions like that, and then you can move to different platform. Okay, those of you who have not done competitive programming, so please start doing it from now. Okay, you have 2 or 3 months, I guess. So by end of the semester you should be able to like have some concept of that, so that in second year and third year you have a good programming logic. Okay, so do that. Apart from this, I think the nested loop is clear. So tell me, what would you like to do in the meantime, or we are good to leave? Anything you would want me to discuss?
सर माइनर एग्जाम का क्या फॉर्मेट होगा?
अभी डिस्कशन चल रहा है माइनर एग्जाम का, बताएंगे तुम्हें। अभी हम डिस्कस कर रहे हैं कैसे क्या होगा, उसका भी फाइनल नहीं है। You will get to know once we finalize this. Okay, so we are having meetings regarding that. Mostly like तुम पहले सेम में दिया हो ना, होगा ना तुमने, उसी तरीके से होगा। Well, you just have to write answer on your paper and upload it, or maybe some simple program that you have to
कोल
write.
में भी?
हाँ,
कोल में भी?
हाँ, लैब एग्जाम तो हो गया ना तुम्हारा ऑलरेडी। It would mostly be on pen and paper only, I think, and you have to write code on your paper, and it's already in discussion. Okay, so nothing is final, so don't take that. We will let you know. Okay, anything else? Okay, fine. So माइनर के लिए प्रिपेयर करना स्टार्ट कर दो। ओके, क्योंकि सी इन लैब असाइनमेंट्स usually every people are doing lab assignment. Okay, so there won't be much difference between your marks, but it is the minor and majors that would make the difference and the lab exams. Okay, these lab assignment are just for you people to learn, but the grading and everything, that is basically, that would more be dependent on the minor exam, that how do you perform in minor. Okay, so prepare well for that, and all the best. Okay, so yeah, we are good to leave. So, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.